welcome to the Life Leadership Podcast with me, Leila Singh. This is the place where ambitious business professionals come to level up in their career and life. Here, we explore powerful strategies for leadership development. We dive into career and personal mastery, mental fitness, and building a standout personal brand. So if you're ready to play a bigger game and unlock your hidden potential to thrive in this fast evolving world of life and business, then you're in the right place. So let's dive in. Today's topic, I thought it would be timely to look at our annual review. So let's discuss annual reviews. Why prepare for your annual review? And that is today's topic. Why? Because as we approach year end, it may well be that you've either had your review or you're preparing for it in the coming weeks, or it may be that your next review is next year at some point. And this can be your annual review or your mid-year review with your manager. So let me know in the comments if you've already had this, if it's taken place, or if you're still waiting to have it scheduled, or if maybe you've just had it a few months ago and the next one is sometime in 2025. Either way, whether it's upcoming, you've just had it, or it's sometime scheduled for next year, depending on your fiscal year, your company's fiscal year. And I appreciate timing of this can vary, but I know a lot of people also have reviews towards the end of this year or early in the new year. Either way, whenever yours falls, whenever it occurs in the calendar year, you will get some value from this. Why? Because I'm going to share with you the importance of preparing for that review throughout the year and the benefits of doing so with some strategies to enable you to make this a really easy process. And I guess either way, the objective here is the same. When we have a review, it is typically to review our performance, our progress, and our potential for moving forward to advancing our career. So my question is, what can you do right now to gain the best outcome from your annual or your half-year, mid-year reviews? Now, for me, I feel that there are three kind of core areas here that serve a purpose as part of the review. And here's the thing, I've heard many people talk about, oh, it's just a tick box exercise, it's pointless, nothing changes and so forth. But here's the thing, you need to be the driver of your career. You need to own your career. In other words, you want to be able to influence in the best way possible. Now, if it's a case that you might be struggling in your current environment with maybe your current manager or the organization as a whole, then that's a different conversation that we can have. But for today, what I want to focus on is when you're having reviews, what can you do in your interest to influence the outcome of that review, to be able to move your career forward and to progress in the way that you want. So there are three core areas that I've identified for this, which are your performance, your progress, and your potential. And we're going to break these down and look at each of them in turn. Why is this important? Well, it may not be important for you. It's important for many, many people in the sense that the purpose of the review often is to secure a pay rise, is maybe to get a bonus, or to look at career progression, advancing your career, getting that promotion, that next big project assigned to you or the client, whatever it may be for you, that the progress essentially. So that is why this is important. If you are someone who is driven, you're ambitious, you're high achieving, you want to move forward. And I get that this might not be for everyone, but for those of you who are looking to progress in your career, what I want to share with you today will help you to move forward and help prepare effectively for those conversations so you have more meaningful conversations with your manager. My first question is, what can you do to gain the best outcome? So if we look at performance, remember, there's three P's here: your performance, your progress, your potential. If we start with performance, what can you do to gain the best outcome from your review? My belief around this is when it comes to our performance, it's not just having done your job and being able to tick off your job spec to say, yeah, I've done all this, because that's your job and that is what you're recognized for currently. So if you're looking for a pay rise and a bonus and so forth, and that recognition, you want to look at where you have made an impact. So identifying areas where you've made an impact in the business, maybe within your team, maybe you've done something that's really outstanding for people around you. You've gotten some great feedback. It could be from a client, it could be from an internal client, another team that you collaborate with and that you work with, or you support them. So really craft out time here to look at all of this and reflect back on the year. And even if you've not done that up until now, my invitation to you is to start to do that going forward. So maybe have like either if you use MS Note or a document or something on your laptop where you can keep some notes and just go in and add to it throughout the year. This is the ideal way to do this. Or have a spreadsheet, something where you can just go in and throw ideas and opportunities that come up or feedback that you get and so forth into that spreadsheet. So when it gets to the review time, you're not sitting there with a blank face thinking, oh my God, I can't remember anything. I can't remember what's happened this year. And by the way, I used to be that person when I was in my corporate career. Unless I wrote things down as I went along through the months, it would get to my review and I really couldn't remember what I'd actually done for the last year, because once I'd completed something or achieved something, I'd move on to the next thing. So it's really important to document these things as you're going along, because otherwise it's very easy to overlook them and forget all about them. And you want to be able to bring and demonstrate your value and your achievements, your accomplishments throughout the year in this review, because you want to be able to put forward that business case as to why you're deserving of the pay rise or the bonus or that consideration for the promotion. So when we think about performance, think about where have you made an impact? Where have you gone over and above and beyond what your job spec says you must do? Where have you perhaps received recognition or feedback for a piece of work that you've done, a project that you've completed, maybe a meeting that you've ran with as I said, like a client, internal or external? If you've delivered a great presentation and received positive feedback, that's again something in terms of performance. So look, really dig deep on this and explore your typical week where you're doing your job and where you've had to maybe do ad hoc things, or where you've had an opportunity to do something slightly different or outside the scope of your day-to-day job. Where have you really excelled when it comes to your performance? Now, if you're struggling with this, and for some organizations, they allow you to, or encourage you rather, to have the 360 feedback. So you can reach out, or your manager will reach out to people that you work in close proximity with to ask them to share feedback on your performance and how they view you in the workplace. So if you don't have something like that already, maybe you can do it on your own. So reach out to people that you have regular interaction with, people that you support within the business, etc. Maybe other people that you have a dotted line reporting to, or projects that you've worked on where you work with people outside of your immediate team that you can go and ask them for some feedback as well. So think about performance. Where have I performed well? Where have I performed over and above my norm, outside the scope of my day-to-day? So that's the first part of this in terms of what can you do to gain the best outcome from your review. Performance is the first one. The second is progress. So what progress have you made? Now, typically, particularly in the larger organizations, you will have been given some goals for the year, some objectives to meet. You want to go back to that and look at that and say, right, okay, where have I achieved progress in each of these areas? So it might be called a personal development plan, might have a different name, but we want to go look at that and say, what was set for me this year? And where have I achieved these? Where have I completed these? Where have I moved forward in each of these areas? And the reason I'm saying it like this is because depending on what the goal is or what the objective is, there'll be different ways of measuring it. So it might be you've been told to develop a particular knowledge area or a skill. So what have you done there in terms of your development? Have you taken control of that to be able to influence it yourself? Have you, maybe done your own self-paced learning? Have you had sponsorship from your employer to go do a course, for example, whether that's online or in person? What have you done in terms of your own development? So that includes both what your company has supported you with and maybe what you've done on your own. It could be that you read a particular journal or magazine that's related to your industry, to your specific career, for example, if it's IT, if it's HR, etc. So what are you doing to develop in your own way? Where are you taking advantage of opportunities within the workplace to also develop yourself? This could also include if you've attended, for example, conferences or in-person networking events which relate to your career in some way. It could be if you're in finance, for example, all of the finance bodies, the accountancy bodies, hold their own trainings and networking events and so forth. So maybe you've attended some of those to develop your skills and your knowledge. So think about that. Where have you invested time and energy to progress yourself? Where have you, if you go back to your objectives and you were at point A at the start of the year, what have you done to progress to point B? Where are you at now? What progress have you made? So document this, make notes on this. So this can help you to identify and talk about the progress that you have made over the course of the year or the half year. And then the third P I mentioned was potential. So when we talk about potential, this is a potential for your career growth, your career development. And here we want to think about your career trajectory. Where is it you're heading towards? What is it you want to be doing next? For some of you, you might have a 3 or a 5 year plan, and that's great. So are you making progress in that direction? And by the way, you don't have to have a 3 or 5 year plan. For some people, that's incredibly overwhelming. So my invitation is to stick with 12 months. Where do you want to get to in the next 12 months time? Where are you now? Identify the gaps, identify what you can do, what actions you can take to close those gaps. So that's what I mean when I talk about potential. It's about the next stage for you. And this is personal to you. This isn't about what the next person who sat next to you is doing. It's about what you want from your career. And the consequence of this can be a new opportunity, a promotion, a new project, maybe if you're client facing, assigned to a new client. And then we talk about the compensation and monetary rewards, so things like pay rise and bonus. So that's what we are looking at when we talk about your potential. Okay, so I'm going to go through each of these now in a bit more detail with some steps that you can put in place to track this in the coming year, and also in preparation if you've got imminent meetings and reviews coming up. So if we go back to number 1, performance, think about how you can track your performance over the course of the year. Ask yourself questions such as, what went well for you? What have been some of your wins? What did you learn from the year? So for example, if something didn't go well, what did you learn from that, and how did you take that learning and implement it going forward? Because all of that will enhance your performance. Where did you receive feedback from colleagues, from your peer group, your managers, maybe from clients, other teams, other managers that you work with? Where did you receive positive feedback? Document all of this. Think about meetings that you've been involved in where you've maybe had to present or deliver something, or you've run the meeting. Where have you had client-facing interaction? And remember, client-facing can be both internal and external. What about projects? Have you been assigned any projects? All of these different facets of your day-to-day responsibilities. Think about how you have performed, what went well for you, what were your wins. Maybe you received an email with a really positive couple of sentences from someone about how well you performed in a meeting, about a presentation you had delivered, and so forth. And this is all about documenting so that when you come to the actual meeting, you have everything in one place. So you can just go through this now to create your story. And we'll come to that in a moment. Ultimately here, you want to recognize your own performance. Where have you over-delivered, gone over and above? What recognition have you received during the course of the year? Maybe you've managed to overcome a difficult relationship, a professional relationship that you've had, and address that from a point of view that you're now going from working like this to actually collaborating, working really well together. What challenges have you overcome? So all of these are things to consider when it comes to your performance, and document it. Keep it, if it's a spreadsheet, if your brain is very logical, analytical, keep a spreadsheet and just throw in those comments. Maybe use, like I said, a notes tab or something where you can just go in every week or every couple of weeks and add things to that as they occur. So when we look at progress, the second one, think about your measurement against your original goal. So go back to whether you call it your personal development plan, or where you have quarterly reviews perhaps. What progress have you been making over the course of the year? Where are the areas for learning and growth? What have you done to invest in those areas? What have you not had a chance to do, and why? Because this isn't a bad thing. This can simply be, well, actually, maybe your role changed or you were given additional responsibilities. You couldn't do everything, and that's okay. So have that conversation and, maybe ask to move it and carry it forward into the following year or half year so that you can complete it. Ask for support and help where it's needed. Identify gaps, whether it's in your current role or in terms of where you want to go next. Are there gaps from the role or the level that you're at the moment to moving up a level? Ask your manager about this. If you've got internal resources that talk about the skills that you need at a particular job level, and that's the next job level for you and you're here right now, identify the gaps here. Where have you maybe not had that skill, not got that skill or had that experience, or there's something you've just never done before, and actually you need to develop that to be able to apply for that next level role. Then identify those so you can take that to the meeting and have that conversation and ask for the support that you need. So again, this is quite a big exercise, but if you break it down and do it over the course of the year rather than wait until, oh my God, I've got a meeting next week, I need to sit down and do all of this, it'll be a lot easier when you have your meeting scheduled. Also with progress, think about if you feel like you're struggling to progress or you haven't really made the progress you wanted, ask yourself, what can I do differently now between now and the next review? What can I do differently to help myself to move forward? Who can I ask for help and support or accountability? It's important here to keep on top of your progress. And again, document this, think about the resources that are available to you, you can draw upon, and the people around you as well, whether it's getting yourself a coach or a mentor or somebody in maybe the next level role that's doing what you want to do. Reach out to them, have a conversation, understand their experience, how they got there, what did they have to do, learn more about the role so that actually, is that what I really want to be doing next? So again, think laterally here in terms of your career trajectory and your progression and what it is you want. The third P we talked about is potential. And again, potential is about your career progression, where you want to go next, and things like promotion or a project, an opportunity, as well as the financial recognition that comes with that. So if we take promotion first of all, so the next role, that kind of where you want to head to next, you want to show commitment and demonstrate this. It isn't just about I want to get a promotion so I get a pay rise. It's about what does that promotion look like? What is it you want to be doing next? You could have a couple of ideas in mind. It doesn't just have to be one thing. Do some research, as I said earlier, maybe speak to people who are in similar roles already so you can better understand what is required from you, what skills, experience they've got. Have you got any gaps, or have you got additional value that you can bring to that role? How can you think about selling yourself into that opportunity? So speak to other people, get a real feel for what those roles are like and what is required or what will be required of you. And now we start to look at crafting your story. In other words, how do you craft an effective business case to enable you to support your longer term career trajectory? Ask yourself, why me? So why should they hire me? Why should they promote me? What value am I bringing here? What experience, what knowledge, what skills, what attitude? Attitude is key. It's not only about your experience and your certifications and qualifications. It is also about your attitude. You want to progress, you're driven, you're hungry for it, you want to move forward. So think about your attitude as well and ask yourself, why now? Why is it now the time that I want to be considered for this? What have I done? Where am I at? What experience have I got behind me? What's potentially missing? Why is now the right time for you, my manager, to consider me for this next opportunity or for putting me forward for promotion next year? Again, this is your business case that you want to put together. What can I bring to the role, to the team, and to the business? What's the impact that I am making in the business right now? What is the bigger impact that I want to make? Think about also the timing of opportunities. So whether typically promotions happen on a quarterly or a half yearly basis, how often they come up. Identify the hiring managers for those opportunities, build your relationships with them. I'm always talking about cultivating those relationships, nurturing them. So make sure that people who, let's say there's someone who's heading up a team that you would love to work in, allow them to get to know you, because it'll become a much easier conversation if that is where you want to move to in the next few months or the next year. And I talk about keeping yourself top of mind. The reason this is important is because then it becomes easier for opportunities to come to you, particularly if they're internal. And even if they're within your industry, once people are aware of you, they know who you are, so you're visible, then they'll have you top of mind when the opportunity comes up. So even if there isn't an opportunity right now, when something comes up, then they can say, oh, I had that conversation with that individual. Let me go reach out to them and see if they're still interested, if they're ready, and so forth. So you want to be making yourself top of mind. So thinking longer term and strategically, who do I need to be in front of to have people get to know me and know my reputation and the value that I bring, such that when the opportunity arises, they think of me, or they approach me at least to have a conversation, because that makes moving forward a lot easier. And then within this story, crafting your story, your business case, present where you want to go. So think about, like, whether it is 1 year, 2 years, 5-year plans, be able to articulately convey what that looks like and why it's important for you and what impact you want to make. Then we think about, so this, we've just covered promotion. Then we wanted to think about the financials, so your bonus and the pay rise. Often, in my own experience at least, there's always a limited pot for bonuses, and that can be shared based on a number of variables. So you want to do your best to understand how that decision is made and look at where you can influence that in some ways, so you can get a bigger percentage of that pot. So it could be, again, being top of mind. Are you top of mind for those decision makers who will be sharing out that pot of bonus money? Are they aware of the value that you've brought over the course of the last year? Are they aware of the impact you're making in the business, or the accomplishments you've had throughout the year? And this is where it's important to continually communicate, make yourself known, make what you're doing known to people, so that when they come to that pot of money, you come to mind, you're in that list, you're in that short list, and not that you get to the review and it's already been decided. So you want to be having ongoing conversations, for example, in your one-to-ones and so forth, where you are documenting what you're doing and the value and so forth, and then bringing those to those conversations. And if you don't have those formal meetings, then from an informal conversation, what we call the water cooler conversation, whatever that could look like, where you could mention, oh, by the way, I had this challenge last week, and I this is how I dealt with it. And it's not about boasting, it's about just conveying information so people are made aware. The people that are the decision makers and the influencers are aware of what you are doing. So think about where you've gone over and above. Ensure that you're making yourself top of mind for those decision makers. Similarly with the pay rise, if you feel that you've not been considered for a sufficient pay rise for a long time and so forth, you want to put a business case together. What have you done differently? What have you done over and above your day-to-day responsibilities? What have you overcome? What challenges have you overcome? What impact have you made? What have you turned around, or where have you over-delivered? So you want to be proactive with this. You want to take the initiative and not just turn up and feel entitled to a pay rise because you did your job for the last year. That's not how it works in many, many cases and many organizations. That, there's the state of the economy, there's inflation and company performance. There's all these factors that get taken into consideration when it comes to, can we afford to give the pay rise? Can we afford to give the bonus? So you want to be able to come in with a strong, compelling business case or story as to why you want to be top of mind, why you should be considered. So in other words, you want to influence the outcome of those conversations. In terms of a summary of what we've talked about today, ask yourself, how can I make myself top of mind? How can I ensure that I'm remembered for the right reasons, so that when these decisions are being made, I'm being considered for them? Think about the way that you show up in your organization with the people that you work with, because you're always being assessed. People are always going to judge. You're going to be making impressions with the people that you work with. So how can you take that to the next level? Think about your delivery, in other words, the output of your work. How good is that? Could it be even better? Could you maybe apply yourself a little more? Can you communicate more effectively about what it is you're doing so that people are made aware of that? And then look at your progress versus your goals. Where am I? Where are the gaps? What do I need to prioritize? What help do I need, whether it's from people or from resources? And then identify what you haven't done and why, so you can have a plan in place to close those gaps. And remember, ultimately, this is about asking for what you want. Many people will complain they didn't get what they want, but they haven't actually asked for what they want. And in many cases, managers might truly believe that actually you're happy. And if they've got such a limited pot of money and they feel that you're happy and they give you your 5% increase and you're good with it, and you haven't said anything, you haven't asked for what you want, then you really want to look at that and explore what is going on there for you. Because my invitation is, if you don't ask, you will not in most cases get. So you want to be showing up and asking for what you want, putting yourself forward, whether that is for the promotion or the bonus and the pay rise. And even if you don't get it this time, at least you've made your case known, you've made people aware of what you want. You may be considered the second round in 6 months' time. You can maybe go into a negotiation of how that could look over the next 6 months. If you're told that you're not perhaps experienced enough right now or something is missing, then how can you support me to work on that so I can be ready? These are the questions. So you want to ask. If the answer you receive is a no, that's not necessarily no forever. That might just be no for now. So again, you really want to slow down to this. Put in the time, the energy, and the preparation for your reviews so that you can make the most out of influencing them to the best of your ability and achieving the outcomes that you desire. Thank you for joining me today. Any questions you have, pop them below. I will respond to them. I hope this has been helpful for you. Let me know your biggest takeaway from this. And as always, remember to harness your potential to elevate your performance and commit towards achieving greater personal growth. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already done so. And if you enjoyed and gained value from today's episode, then do please leave a review telling us your key learnings and what you enjoyed the most. And do please share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can spread the word on life leadership, creating a life of choice, freedom, and new possibilities. Connect with me directly on LinkedIn, and if you would like to learn more about how we can work together, either DM me on LinkedIn or email me. All details and resources can be found in the show notes.